first episode of the new year, and it's a bad start right now. As right now we bow down, and I say a moment of silence to my Pittsburgh Steelers. Really, we need music behind that.
Happy New Year!
Let's just start the show, man. All right, Happy New Year to everyone. And this is before it has not been the happiest of New Years for me as the Steelers are out. Yves, anything you got to say to the people before we start off today's show, man?
Happy New Year, Brian. I don't. I'm stunned too, but you know what? That's why they play these games, right? So that's how it happens.
Let's just get it over with. Let me just take my medicine right now. Let's just get this over with, okay? So we're gonna recap as usual last week's games. Oh boy, Steelers, Ravens. We might as well start with that. You know what? I know Bell was a key part of things, but I'm not using that as an excuse. You in the red zone enough times, you got to get the ball in the end zone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I hear that Deion Sanders after the game saying that they had 2019 rushing attempts versus 26 average. Well, that will happen when you start trailing. You're not going to make your typical quarter. So that means they were on pace for that before they started trailing by like 2 touchdowns. So I'm not losing sleep over that. I do question some of the play calling from a standpoint of trying to set up the run with the pass more so. I thought they played a little too conservative for my liking.
Right.
In the first half especially. I'm like, really, what the heck? I mean, I think in this case, the offensive line just choked. Let's call a spade. They choked. And me, if I see that resting on anyone's hands, the offensive line got to take the biggest L. I mean, I saw they could cover. I mean, heck, Baltimore wasn't even blitzing half the time they were getting pressure.
I hear you, but B, you're also looking at the 8th-ranked defense in the league. They have a pretty good front. They have a pretty good pass.
I know their front seven's pretty good. Right. I get that, but they handled that front seven only about a few weeks ago.
It's true. It was a little weird. It was a little weird.
The guy makes a difference. I grant you that. But that offensive line, I mean, we're getting false starts on the goal line at home. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You should just sit on the bench at that point. When I say DeCastro do that, are you kidding me? You're at home. It's quiet as a church mouse on your own goal line and on the 1 yard line, and you get a false start. Now, fine, they end up scoring the touchdown. But it's little things like that. Where I just shook my head, and the fact that I had to watch Steve Sizzle make the interception to pretty much seal the game on the flukiest of interceptions. Pretty much at that point,
him, right?
I just put my hands up and say, you know what, it is what it is.
The game's over.
Yeah. So. When you're catching balls with your kneecaps, it's like, what can we do? The football gods had it in for us.
Yeah, man. I felt a little bad for Ben because I didn't think he played that bad.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think he played that bad. I think he tried to do the best that he could. Yeah. I know he tried to be stand up about it at the end of the game by saying it was his fault and he should have played better.
O-line let him down,
you know what, man? You played well all season long. Yeah. You took some hellacious shots this year, but you played and you manned up. You helped your team as much as you could. Yeah. But you know what, Baltimore, give it to them, man. Because I didn't choose Baltimore to win.
Well, I told you the game's going to be tight. The one thing that had me concerned in the game was that Baltimore had that big playability. And that's the only thing with Flacco made me nervous. And just what I thought would happen if it was going to go bad happened. Because I know Baltimore's got this whole new league, new rules thing down to a science. Mm-hmm. They got their deep threats, and they're going to throw that ball at least about 5 times.
I would say this, though. I would say this. Like, for me, as much as I'm not a big Flacco guy, but he throws the nicest deep ball when it comes down to it in cold weather games.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, alive, man.
And in this day and age, you got to have a guy who can throw a deep ball, right? And I think that's one of the things that's hurting Denver and New England to some extent. We'll get to that later in the next segment. But you got to throw a deep ball, and to me, if you don't have at least take about 6 chances or so, a half a dozen chances a game, you're pretty much wasting a touchdown as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, man.
You're giving up a touchdown. And I think to me, that was just like, my biggest concern was that wild card because I know they're going to be aggressive with it. And they had some dudes, and someone mentioned, I can't remember whose take it was, but it's so true. Which I did say so last week as well, too. They got guys that have been there that play in big games, right?
Yeah, of course.
When did Steve Smith become Steve Smith Sr.?
Say again?
When did Steve Smith become Steve Smith Sr.?
After he had the little baby boy.
Oh, good gracious. This is the reason why they needed to be dealt with, okay?
I hear you, but you know what, though? For a guy, that guy's a tough dude.
No,
man.
I ain't not saying so. He can ball. It's
He can
just,
ball, man. He'll
it's
ball
just
like
the
hate.
Baltimore demeanor that I can't
He
take.
just encapsulate, but he encapsulate.
Oh,
He
he's
basically just
perfect
took
for
it
that.
on this year,
Yeah, he's
and
perfect
he
for that.
really fit in. I
Yeah.
don't know if he'll do it again next year, but he really fit in for them.
I don't see why not. Because he's
Hey,
not the
but hey, man, he can play.
think
I think
about
he
it.
can
He's not
play.
the primary option of the team.
He's not even close. He's not even close to
So
the.
right,
Yeah.
so he saved at least a couple more years in his career for that. If he continued to play in Carolina, he'd be ready to be done next year.
Oh no, he would have been done if he was in
Right,
Carolina. But
exactly, because he'd be the
yeah,
first option stuff. Here,
yeah.
he's the second or third option, and you can do his thing. He's always going to be able to be. He probably still get to be a third.
No, he'll be a second option.
Yeah,
Man. He'll be a second.
your
He'll be a
third
two guy.
quarterback. When you bring out nickel packages, he's gonna beat that dude. So I mean, like we'll see how it plays out. But this just like Pittsburgh just reverted back to the team in the first 6 weeks of the season. Stupid penalties, careless playing, poor blocking, defense in this case. Like I ain't letting them off the hook. Them dudes in this case, I mean, look.
Well, well, you know what though? The no-name guys that you guys had back there, even though they were playing well for the last couple of weeks, you knew sooner or later. You probably just thought, okay, the injuries have to take a toll sooner or later.
Here, you know what? I'm gonna flip this on you because this one here, you're sounding like me. I'm gonna sound like you for a second. Okay, and I'm gonna say.
Oh, you gotta talk about Troy?
Yes, yes. You know what? Look,
he's gone, guy.
Look, he's
you better take a pay cut.
You know he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's wearing black.
You just better take a pay cut.
But I wonder if this game that they're playing with them young boys for the last few weeks, this game would have been different because the back end looks slow, man. And it's like,
my goodness!
And with the speed that Baltimore has in the wings, it's just like, man, it in a way it almost worked out better for Baltimore for Troy to play than if Troy didn't play.
Exactly.
Because the speed of that secondary was so apparent the last 3-4 weeks.
Right.
And then to me it looked like a half step slow all day on Saturday.
Because the thing with Troy is he might have those instincts of him like just trying to disguise and stuff like that. His speed always used to make up for it. Now
I remember late in the game when they had like a 3rd and 14 or something, he came in on blitz in the corner. And they was fooling nobody on that thing.
Right, yeah, man. He can't get there no more like he used to.
Okay, man. It's leaving a bad taste in my mouth, man. I was actually recovering quite well this week before we had to discuss this again. So let's move on to game number 2, where we're having reverse Saturday afternoon, or evening, I guess. Panthers and Cardinals. Is what we thought it would be. For a second, I thought the Carolina was going to make us look like idiots in this case because I text you after 10-0. I was pretty much ready to pack up the luggage and say it was all she wrote. Because at 10-0, saying Lindley's not winning coming back from 10-0. And then they decided to just turn off the ball. I don't know what was homeboy thinking there.
I don't know.
The punt return, what the heck was he thinking? I mean, then they canceled the pick because homeboys the Cotchery just stopped. I like, what? Dude, you can't even find what the ball was. How your receiver don't know what the ball is? It's just like stuff like that kept the Cardinals in the game for a little bit, but then reality set in and it was over. What can you say?
Thank goodness that game was overdone, man.
The second half could just be. It could end at the halftime. Really,
yeah,
once Carolina took the lead in the early third, it was done.
Well, that was basically it. I mean, listen, I liked Arizona in terms of the story that they had throughout the regular season, but when you're down to your third stringer,
it's like,
come on, man.
I really question if they should have brought the other boy in, man, and give it a shot, man, because Lindley was just overmatched.
That's what I thought. You know what I even heard today? I was listening with my sixth self. I was listening to Dan Patrick today. They actually talked to Kurt Warner and how serious he was about, all Bruce Arians had to do was just say, Kurt, you want to come back?
Oh, yeah.
They were willing to bring him in, and I think Kurt probably would have gotten him at least 200 yards.
Oh, come on. Of course so. I mean, they were teasing Favre with the Levitar show a week ago, and he's like saying, "Oh no," and Levitar's like, "You sure Arizona hasn't called you?" He's like, "No."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm done." But I'm sure if Favre played that game, I would be nervous if Carolina Favre was playing that game.
Oh, it was Favre. It was Kurt Warner.
Yeah, but I'm saying either one of them have been scared.
Yeah, man, come on. That's what I'm saying. He could have gave them 200 yards in his sleep.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of guys where I can say you know what. I've been better off with that, with them than what we saw there. That was that was ugly.
That was a tough watch, man.
That was a tough watch, man. Oh boy, so let's move on. Enough of that. We'll move to Sunday games. So AFC, Colts, Bengals. This one too went pretty much what we thought. As I said before,
I chose Cincinnati though.
Now I told you at the time, I ain't picking a combination of this case of Marvin Lewis and Andy Dalton.
No,
Can't do it. Won't do it. Can't do it. Singletary says,
I gotta be honest with you, man. Okay, he's had enough time. Like, I mean, he's had enough time.
Well, that's why I chuckle when you always talk about Tomlin's head on things. Like, really, the guy's won.
Well, Tomlin's won at least,
two Super Bowls. Has had playoff
he has
success.
Super Bowls in
And
his
this
back.
dude still can't get a win.
Yeah, man. Because I mean, just the comments from the players after the end of the game kind of said, there's no guarantee that he's coming back. You know.
Look. If I'm no, well, not just that, but I think you gotta make a move on one of those fronts. Either you gotta move Marvin Lewis, or I think you gotta do both. I think you can't go with Andy Dalton.
But you just gave Dalton a big contract, though.
I think it's the stupid. Well, it is one of the stupid.
No, I think it's a dumb. I didn't like it.
As long as you're in the same conference as Tom Brady, I mean, Cowher was talking about this today, so it's not original take, but it's just the obvious. If you have Brady, Manning for at least another year or two, Roethlisberger, Flacco, who else in your conference? I'm forgetting about someone else. Oh, Luck, of course, Rivers. You can't expect that Andy Dalton's getting past these dudes.
No, he ain't getting past those dudes.
No, he's not doing it.
It's a shame. It's a shame, but they gave that contract 2 years too early.
Right, exactly. Like, it's a joke. I mean, Andy Dalton getting that contract, and like, obviously no one's ever stuck with a contract in the NFL, but they really should start looking for a trade or something, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, this will be the interesting offseason because there's gonna be a lot of quarterbacks that have signed for big money in the last 2 years.
Hey, San Francisco Cincinnati deal?
Huh?
The San Francisco Cincinnati trade?
Well, who knows? Or even that Chicago trade? Or, because like those guys all have in common is that they got paid 2 years too early, big money for stuff that they have not been proven.
I wouldn't touch Jay Cutler.
I wouldn't touch him. But the fact about it is, Chicago touched him, and they paid him.
Yeah, because he's playing well in his contract year. That's classic Cutler.
I don't know, man. Like, I always say this all the time. Listen, you got to come up and show me. You know what I mean? Show me. You gotta come up and prove yourself. I like what Flacco did. Yeah. I'm not a big Flacco guy, but he came and said, you know what? I'm rejecting your contract offer. I'm going to play for my money. Right. If you don't want to pay me, someone else will.
Exactly.
And he got his money.
More power to him, man.
More power to him.
And Andrew the Great in this case here looked good, but I mean, Cincinnati's defense is a respectable defense. I don't know. I just think that Colts team they're
not that good.
No, they're
without him. Listen, if there was an MVP for a real MVP, he's the MVP.
Yeah.
Because listen, they cannot win more than
the real MVP. Like, come on.
No, I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you take him away from that team, they're barely even getting.
Yeah, we know so because they were 1-15 the year before, or the case would be. But like,
the guy's been in the league for 3 years. The guy's been in the league for 3 years, and they've won 11 games. They won 10, 11 games for them.
But I also said they're in a garbage division too.
Oh, most definitely, I agree with that. But the fact about it is, he has garbage around him now.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, but when all said and done, like he too needs to improve, man. I think
he does. Oh, no doubt about it, Brian. Yeah. I'm not disputing that.
Yeah, I just think so I ain't giving him a full pass on it, but we'll see what happens, man.
No, he's gonna get smoked on. He's gonna get smoked on. Whatever he plays on.
Oh yeah, so it'll be interesting with Denver because if the wind starts picking up, things will get interesting. But we'll get that in a second.
We'll get into that in a second.
Because let's talk about the game of the weekend. Leon Big D. Oh my goodness. The stadium Jerry built with Chris Christie hopping around. Boy, you know what? Dallas is always a spectacle. It was never going to be dull. I was looking forward to this game all week. Boy, you talk about, listen. Oh boy, where to start? Like, here's another situation where you have a quarterback really, you got to ask yourself a question at this point. Like Matthew Stafford, like really.
Come on, man.
Like,
I've only been saying that for years, man.
Come on, son. Like, really?
Hey, come on, man.
You fumbled the ball twice on like the biggest drive of your career. Like, really?
The guy has no quarterback sense awareness. I have no idea, guy. Taking sacks on just bad play. Just bad.
I'm sitting there going, like, how is it they're not getting the ball to Tate and Megatron more? I don't get that.
And after Tate
went for 70 yards. I look at Megatron could get the ball anytime he wanted to on whoever he was on. Like, I mean, they weren't even really double covering him all the time.
They weren't double covering him.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, okay, me personally, I think Reggie Bush, I know Reggie Bush had some injuries and stuff this year, but boy, he didn't show up, man.
Well, I thought Bush played okay, but they barely gave him the ball.
I don't know. I have greater expectations of Bush being
but you got to get the ball, though, Yves. The first half, they're running the ball, and then they stop running the ball. They're doing.
They weren't doing nothing with the ball. They weren't running the ball effectively, though.
They were running the ball okay.
They weren't really doing it.
But I don't think they got the ball to the key players they need to. They're giving the tight ends and stuff. Like, no.
Well,
this is money time.
I blame this game. Well, first of all, I mean...
Well, let's get to the flag. Let's get the flag.
Yeah, man, that was a bad... I think I texted you on that, man.
Yeah.
That was just, my God.
Yeah, that one makes people think a little bit in this case here. Like, what the heck's going on here? Because that would be interesting. Would I say the game would have been over? No, but I was kind of paying.
It's a momentum changer. Come on, man.
I didn't realize how late in the game it was when that penalty came out. All of a sudden, the game, I looked up, it was like 8 minutes left in the game. I was like, holy cow, are you kidding me? It was a huge call. I mean, and then the fact that the 4th and 1, people are killing Caldwell on the call and not the 4th and 1. You know what? I get it in some ways. What he's trying to do. I'm not really saying that was a bad call because if the punter kicked the ball properly, you got Dallas pinned, and then Dallas got to go 90 yards. And we see when Rome was in those situations.
I hear you, but here's the problem, though, Brian. Your special teams has been terrible all season long.
You're asking for a punter to execute what he's supposed to do, a punt.
Like, really? I hear you, but listen. I say you go on the base on this is because you only have one game left.
I grant you that.
You have one game. You win. You don't do nothing. You're gone. The fact about it, your special teams have been terrible all season long. All right. Not saying I would go on the strength of what I know I have.
Everyone's saying, he's at the 46-yard line. 46-yard line is a lot of yardage to give up. You're giving Dallas a good offense, a half a field.
But at the same time, while saying that, though, your defense has kept you in the game.
Yeah, but why? So he's using that same philosophy the other way, saying like, okay, you go at worst, the guy kicks the ball in the end zone, you're going 80 yards on me. Mm-hmm. No one's expecting the dude to have a 9-yard punt. Like that's the thing. It's all said and done.
Again, I guess that's coaching. We talking obviously 2020 hindsight and everything of the sort.
Yeah,
but
I'm not killing so much on that call.
No, there was a couple of things that just bothered me about that game at the end of it. More towards listen, when you got commentators, you have stuff going on throughout the rest of the rest of the week. People still talking about how bad this call was.
Oh, yeah.
Then on top of that, the procedures from all the NFL referees.
It's brutal. And then to add insult injury, you got Des Bryant running out there like a knucklehead as usual.
Didn't get a penalty.
And get penalty. I've never seen that before.
Tony Dungy was like saying, look, he goes, you take everything else aside. That alone should have gotten the biggest call. And nobody has given any explanation why he didn't get a penalty on that play. Because the referee who picked up the flag about that whole the whole pass interference doesn't even mention that whole entire thing with Bryant. And I'm thinking, that's just as big of a play as anything else.
And when the head of referees has been hanging out in Jerry tour bus over the offseason, it just gives a bad smell. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So I feel for Detroit's fans, man. I feel for them on that one. True, did they have opportunities after that? Yeah, you can say so. I mean, Detroit regressed kind of as the Steelers did. All of a sudden, the defense was very undisciplined in the last drive. I think they had about 3 penalties.
3 penalties, man. Kept on going on.
That had drives that pretty much
pass interference calls every which way. There was a pass interference one. There was one where I think Cole Beasley just got smoked.
Right.
But he's 5'2".
Right. I know that's always a tough call, man. But some of the other ones, I'm like, really, dudes, really? Yeah. I mean, I will say this, man. People want to badmouth Sue, but that dude played a boss of the game.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Cow, he was
the series before their touchdown. The series before, he got 2 sacks, 2 straight sacks. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
and I mean.
He set the tone from early. I just wish they had someone on the offense that had that type of motor in this case. The offense has nobody like that.
Yeah, it's just you just kind of don't understand what happened. Like for all the explosiveness that they have on the offensive side, and they were a pretty explosive team last year. What the heck this year has gone on? Really,
I think Caldwell in this case was trying to because I think in some ways Stafford and Romo aren't that different. In the sense like this, that the more exposure you give those guys to make plays, the more likely they make more mistakes. Screw up, right? Right. Mm-hmm. So I think he's trying to manage Stafford to some extent. It's like, I'm not going to let you throw it 45 times, because I know that means 2 are going back the other way.
Right. That's probably true.
That's probably why he's doing it. But I think they manage themselves into a corner where they're almost micromanaging things now. And it's like, okay, now you're limiting yourself because you got really skilled players and not getting the ball enough. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happened a little bit. I think overall Caldwell's done a good job because he's giving them discipline and stuff like that. Obviously, they're 11-5 team and stuff like that. But I think that's where the balance gets delicate. I think at some point you got to realize Stafford ain't the dude.
I always say this, man. It always bothers me a little bit when you got a good number 2 receiver. You have your top guy getting covered, and then if you got a number 2 who's a very good number 2 who could probably be another 1 somewhere else, and he's performing. The dude, you should be taking advantage of that matchup.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Really, really, really should have been killing it. You say, as an offense coordinator, we're going to keep running the same play until you prove to us you can stop it.
Okay, cool. Let's get into this week's game. All right, so we're into this week's games. Let's start with the first one. Who's Saturday's games in this case here? We're looking at Carolina and
Yeah,
Seattle. Who
that's
you
right.
got?
Oh man, easy. It's gonna be a tough game, but I got Seattle winning. I just don't see Carolina winning. They do have the rest. They do have the game that can transpose and can travel to there. Will they win? Don't think so.
Right, yeah. Weather's a little better than we think in Seattle this weekend, but I agree. They don't have enough big plays to scare Seattle's defense.
Yeah,
Yeah, love Cam, but you're gonna take a pounding from the Legion of Boom.
he
Game
will.
number 2 that evening is gonna be Denver's Indianapolis, I believe. Who you like in that one?
I'm gonna have to take Denver on this one, though. I'm not a real big fan of it. Listen, I'd rather that Peyton don't throw the ball as often and rely on the running game to do the job. I really don't know how. I can't really see how Indianapolis wins this game. I really don't.
I see it away.
Yeah.
I see it away. I'm going with the upset. Give me Indy.
You're going with the upset, really?
Yeah, as much as I've been killing Indy.
You think Luck's gonna show up and do his thing?
I think Luck's gonna play well in this game, but I think also too this game is gonna be a shootout. I think it's gonna be very similar to the Baltimore loss to Denver a couple of years back. I think when it's all said and done, someone's gonna be wearing.
So you're gonna jump on them early and then cause it. Jump on them early.
Someone's gonna be wearing goat horns, and I think you know who in this case here.
Surprise me.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised in this game that some strange business happens this game.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sunday, all right, Dallas heads to Lambeau Field. Now this is getting interesting. I'll let you go and do your pick. Who you like?
I like Dallas in this game.
I do too, actually. Because
you want to know why I like Dallas in this game? I think the media's already given a nice full excuse for why Rodgers might not perform so great.
Yep.
Because we all know people get hurt. We know calf injuries and stuff like that. But that's almost like a built-in excuse right now. That's all I'm hearing about. That's all I've been hearing about.
He hasn't practiced all week.
Yeah, like I'm thinking, okay, but you know what? Dallas can do their thing. I think that they're gonna, and I can see Green Bay having a choke job.
Oh yeah.
I
can see that big time. And I think Dallas, once again, to your point, you mentioned earlier, Dallas's game travels. They run the ball. Their defense has been proved over the season. Mm-hmm. And they were like 8-0 on the road, so they
Correct.
fear anything. And I think how they're playing now, there's enough poise with Dallas that I can see Dallas going here. Especially when the fact that I think Dallas is one of those teams right now that I think they like their back against the wall. Everyone hates them at the moment. I think let's face it, it's gonna be black hat versus white hat in this game. And I think Dallas is relishing that role, man. I like Dallas,
man. I think they'll win this game. I think I have this feeling. Again, I just think that right now Dallas is on a good run. As much as it bothers me to say that, but let it go. Let's do this.
And the finale, the nightcap. Boy, oh boy, they do it one more time, man. Baltimore comes to New England, Foxborough.
Let me tell you something. If there was a team that New England did not want to see,
oh yeah. Bill Simmons already having cold sweats the moment that game was done last week.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm sorry. I'm choosing Baltimore in this game.
I like Baltimore as well too, and this goes back to the point. I think Brian Billick made this point in the article. This is I think yesterday or today, talking about how Flacco's been better than Brady when it's all said and done.
For sure.
And just talking about not just the touchdown ratio and the wins, but also the explosiveness as far as the explosive plays. And I think in this time of the year, I think what you see, it gets teams going. It's defense and running, but you need to have big plays. Correct. And New England has been a nickel and dime type of offense for most of the year. And I think that's the reason why it hurts New England in the playoffs. They don't make big plays.
They don't have that deep threat that goes over the top. They don't.
They don't. Everyone just crowds them in this case here. And I think
we're gonna dare you.
Yeah.
We're gonna dare you to come in. We're gonna take everything, all your underneath stuff. You got to prove to us you can throw the ball deep. Yeah. And that's when it's worse. Because remember, regular season football is completely different than playoff football. Because you're facing the top teams.
Exactly.
And the top teams got film on you. So the fact about it is, I remember that game last year when Baltimore jumped on their tail. You know what I mean? And they ain't no different. They're not really that much more different.
Well, Gronk is the big difference.
Well,
that's a huge
you know what
difference.
though? I think Broncos get new shots because they got some good linebackers in Baltimore.
I never seen a linebacker stick with Gronk yet. So
not stick with him, but you know what though? He's gonna get chipped a lot. Trust me.
Oh well, we know Baltimore's gonna lay the wood on him. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm taking a risk this week. I'm going 3 road dogs in this case, which is rare, and so it'll be odd to see. But I got a funny feeling it's gonna be a strange week, man. You are 2-2, I believe. You've taken
correct.
You're 2-2 on that one. So it's gonna be fun to see what happens. This weekend. I think it's gonna be a crazy playoffs. And, we'll talk about it next week. There's no topic of the week this week, folks. We're just getting straight to the games, man. Anyways, Eve, where can the good folks find you?
Find me at Y Charlem.
All right, you can find me at Beyond Locker Room, short form RM. Anyways, folks, take care, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy New Year, y'all.